If you are a makeup lover and you browse Sephora and Ulta a lot, you may notice the amount of skin tints being released is tremendous. There's so many companies hopping on this trend, and we're going to be talking about a new one from Iconic London today, but this one seemed a little bit different in my opinion. So we'll be doing a wear test and try on and all that stuff you need to know before you make a buying decision. So if you're not already subscribed, I would love to have you, and please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as well if you find it helpful or enjoyable at any point, or if you just want to give me a like to give me a like. I'm down for any of those, but let's go ahead and get into today's video. The two new products they have are the Iconic London Underglow Blurring Primer. This is the packaging, really pretty. And then we have the new Super Smoother Blurring Skin Tints. These also have really pretty packaging. They're these little plastic, just like rectangular squeezy tubes, and they do have a dropper applicator. I have 3 shades of the skin tint to swatch, but let's go ahead and start out with this new primer, which I'm not a huge primer person, but this one sounds like exactly what I want in a primer, which is something that's blurring. This is the Underglow Blurring Primer. So this retails for $29, and it says a completely unique skincare makeup hybrid formula that is not only kind to skin, but guarantees perfect coverage. The Underglow Blurring Primer creates a just applied finish for makeup and controls shine all day. Has some skincare ingredients, vitamin C, and soft focus blurring powders. And for application, it says apply 2 to 3 drops across the face using fingertips or base brush, and your skin will be instantly refreshed. I do really like this packaging. Iconic London kind of has this more glam look to their products, which I love. And it does come with a little bit of a dropper. Just to show you the texture before we apply it, it has this sort of like beigey base to it, but it does blend out to be clear, and the texture feels like a very, very thin gel. It doesn't feel heavy, but it also doesn't feel silicone-y either. It kind of just feels refreshing, like they said in the little info card. So we're gonna try this on one half of my face so we can see if it actually makes a difference with the application and how long it wears for. So it said 1 to 2 drops, so I'm gonna do 2 drops. That was more like 3, just because we're only doing one side of my face. But let's go ahead and do this right side. I'm gonna focus it in the sort of problem areas. It does have a slightly strong scent to it. I am very sensitive to scents, especially like artificial fragrances. Sometimes they just mess up my skin. We'll see with this one. It's not too overpowering at the moment where I like wouldn't wear it. Yeah, the texture feels nice, gel-like, a little bit moisturizing. That's really interesting. Actually, looking at my face, it did blur sort of the pores and texture that I have around my nose. Like this side definitely looks smoother. The texture isn't tacky, it's nice and smooth. So yeah, I have high hopes for this. I hope that it ends up working out. Now that it's dry on my hand, it does feel like a tiny bit, how would I describe this? Velvety. I wouldn't say powdery, but it has that like velvety blurring finish. So I do notice the blurring effect, which is good. It lived up to that claim, and we'll see how it reacts with the rest of the products. Onto our skin tint here. This is an ultra lightweight tint that seamlessly blends into the skin, blurring pores, dark spots, and uneven textures, creating an unrivaled base which has a satin matte finish with a hint of Iconic London's famous glow. That sounds really good to me. The fact that it is a satin matte, I feel like is very rare nowadays for skin tints. They're usually on the glowier side. It's available in 18 flexible shades to suit all skin tones. The silky formula can be applied on its own using a brush, beauty blender, or your fingers. It has plant-derived amino acids, pea extract, and peach flower extract, which protects skin from free radicals like pollution. Very interesting. I do think one of the allures of skin tints is that they do have good skin ingredients added to them, so it's nice to have some skincare-based ingredients in the formula. I have 3 different shades here. Like I mentioned, there is 18 shades. I looked at the shade range online, and it actually looks pretty evenly distributed, which is really nice. I think skin tints in 18 shade range is pretty good because they are more on the sheer side, but still enough shades to cover all the bases. Usually skin tints can lean light medium and not have a lot of dark or deep shades, but looking on their website, they did have quite a lot of dark and deep shades, same amount as the medium and light, which is good. Haven't tried them myself, so I'm not sure if they have some good undertones. But let me swatch the 3 that I have for you. I have all the ones in the fair range. So I have cool fair, neutral fair, and warm fair. I'm really happy they have all 3 undertones. They still don't have an olive undertone, but they do have 3 different ones to choose from. I have tried some skin tints that only have maybe like 2, like a warmer one and a cooler one, and I am more neutral olive, so that can be hard to navigate for a skin tint. This packaging and does have that little squeeze top like we mentioned, and it comes out pretty quickly, so just gotta be careful with that. So here we have Cool Fair, which looks really nice. It is lighter than me, which is a good sign because I am pretty fair and I know a lot of you are even fairer than me. This might be a good option. It doesn't look too cool or pink based either, which is another thumbs up in my book. And then this neutral fair is quite a bit darker, so I think I'm gonna end up mixing these two. Then we have the warm fair over here, which would probably be like my self tan shade. Like this one is pretty deep. I feel like these two are kind of leaning more on the light side versus fair. Like this is a true fair shade to me. I might mix the warm one, but we're definitely going to do a base of the cool fair shade. For these new Iconic London Super Smoother Skin Tints, I will be mixing the warm fair shade with the cool shade. I'm doing mostly the cool fair, and I'm just doing like a little dot of the warm fair shade. Now the texture of this skin tint is really interesting. It has more of this like bouncy gel texture versus being oily and thin like a lot of skin tints. Starting on this non-primed side of my face, I'm gonna start by blending it in a little bit with my fingers, and then we'll smooth everything out with a sponge. I tend to go a little bit heavy-handed, so we're gonna start with a little bit and using the Shop Miss A Paw Paw sponge. It blended in very smoothly, and compared to this side of my face, I would say this is a good, solid, light, leaning to light medium type of coverage. The finish also claimed to be satin matte, which I find true. It's not adding a lot of dewiness to my skin. I think, in my opinion, this actually looks more like skin than something that's super dewy and is gonna end up looking heavier by the end of the day when our oils start to break through. So I think this is a really good formula if you are more on the oily side like I am. I do like the look of a dewy finish skin tint at first, but they just don't last on me. That's why I was really intrigued by this formula, because it's one of the first ones I've seen that actually has a non-dewy finish. I'm just taking whatever's left over and just building it on the areas I need a little bit more coverage. But this actually gives like very good coverage. I'm very excited about this because it's not just like water on my skin. I do like having more medium coverage, and this is giving me almost that. I think with a little concealer, I'd be more than happy with this coverage. The one thing I do notice is right in this area where my pores are, it's sinking a little bit into the pores, which I'm really intrigued to see if it does over here, because the smoothing primer should help with that, and we will see. It's definitely not super noticeable. It's just a little tiny bit. It's just kind of stuck into the pores. If you're using a sponge like I did, it definitely soaks up a lot of the product. Like all that product is gone. This side we will do a brush. I have been trying this a little bit before, the past couple days. I used it with a brush, and you can get like very good, basically medium coverage out of this skin tint, which I think is great. It's super versatile. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix up more of this product. I think those 2 shades that I mixed ended up working pretty well because I do like the golden undertones of the warm, but I need the lightness of the cool for sure. Starting with a similar amount and using a BK Beauty 101 brush. This is a very dense blending brush. It gives a lot of coverage. It's so easy to blend in. Wow, I've never really had a product that blended in that quickly. This is one of those products that just blends itself basically. It doesn't seem to be sticking to any areas, and it's going over my texture quite well. And yeah, I ended up using a lot less product, but with the brush giving me a little bit more coverage. Just to smooth out any texture that I might have created with the brush, I'm going back in with my sponge. I am really liking this side a little bit more. There's still some redness peeking through on this side of my cheek. Let's see if I can blend that out. Yeah, this area on my cheek is just looking a little bit textured. It's so interesting that they basically created a primer that fixes the problem with the skin tint. I don't know if I necessarily like that. I'd rather just have it not sink into my pores in the first place. But the primer definitely did what it said, because I'm not having that issue where I did use the primer. I did also try this formula previously with my fingers, and it's not my favorite technique because it gave me the lightest coverage out of all the tools that I've used. So if you want lighter coverage, I would say use your fingers. The sponge is really nice if you want more like lighter medium, and if you really want to like get the maximum coverage out of this, a brush is a great way to go, and then I usually just go over with a sponge like I did to smooth out any texture. But looking at my face now, I really love the finish of this. It looks so beautiful. It really is a satin matte. Like there's still some sheen to my skin, so it doesn't look completely flat, but it does feel like it's really going to stay on my face and not slip off when I do get oily skin people. I think this is going to be such a nice skin tint. If it wears well, we will see. So far so good with the shades, the application. The one thing that I am noticing is just that texture on one side of my face. Again, nothing crazy. Like I would still wear this without the primer, but the primer did improve the look of the foundation and they worked really well together. I think I forgot to mention, but this is vegan and cruelty free and it is $32. They're available on their website or at Sephora. I'm going to hop off and do the rest of my makeup. When I do concealer, I'm just going to keep it under my eyes and do nothing else on the face. I'm also probably not gonna set this because I want to see how it holds up on its own, but I will set my under eyes. So I will be back with the rest of my face done and we'll do our first check-in. All right, I am back with the rest of my makeup on. I don't know how I feel about this lip shade. I heard that these types of like brick reds are supposed to be really nice for olive skin. I don't know if this is like a little bit too warm though. Let me know in the comments below if you feel like this is good or like a little bit too warm on me. I'm undecided. It's a Clove and Hallow liquid lipstick, by the way. I just had it. I don't know where it went. I will put the shade name below though. I also tried out this new to me Anastasia Magic Touch Concealer because I had a little sample card in the shade 2 and it was like very full coverage. I might be interested in getting this if I still like it and it wears well. Interesting. But anyway, it is 1:59, so 2 o'clock. We'll do the first check-in now. I will insert a close-up about how it's looking. I will do natural light. It's not sunny out today, but I will do natural lighting just to show you close up on my phone with texture because sometimes my camera is just like doesn't really show what I need it to show. But just looking at it with the rest of my face done, the powders went on nicely. I didn't set the rest of my face, by the way, just the under eyes. It looks really beautiful. I really like the amount of coverage. What stands out to me so far is the finish of it. Satin matte, I really love. The primer was very blurry. The only con that I see so far is just that slight texture on my pores on the left side. And it's also like a little bit in my smile lines here, but I am just going to like dab it in a little bit. I always do this just with areas that get a little bit creased just to pick up extra product. Other than that, it's looking good. It doesn't look too flat. You still see that shine on my face. I'm really excited to see how this wears. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. If you think it's gonna wear well, let me know. If you think it won't, also let me know below and we'll see if you're correct at the end of the video. But yeah, 2 o'clock, I will wear it for the rest of the night and I will check in then. I am back for my final check-in. It is 10:51. So I'm gonna take a look and give you the update you've been waiting for. So overall, my face still looks like moderately good and the coverage is still there. It did completely basically come off on my chin, but I was rubbing it with a paper towel, so I don't really expect it to stay on through that, especially since it's the skin tint. But like my forehead, usually I do get like some transfer when I touch my hair, but the coverage is still there. The cheeks look really nice and I am pretty oily in my T-zone, but it's really interesting that I'm not super oily. Like it did control my oil moderately well. I do also notice on this prime side, I am moderately less oily than on this side. There's some more oil that I noticed over here. So I am really enjoying this primer and I noticed a difference with the smoothness in the application, but also in the wear test. Also kind of wore off my nose. I was also wearing sunglasses, so that kind of picked up the product. But for it being a skin tint, I think this is one of the best wearing skin tints in my opinion because it's not so dewy. It didn't wear off or like slip into my texture or creases, especially in my smile lines. I did pick up the extra product though. Like it looked really good in my smile lines. Nothing is cakey either or bunching up. Even next to my nose where it's oily, it kind of held its own in that area, which is quite surprising, and this is something I would definitely reach for again. I love that Iconic London came out with this satin matte finish skin tint for all of us more oily people because we still want to wear skin tint too. And yeah, I did really enjoy using this one. Will go back to it. One of my favorite skin tints that I've tried. If you have a skin type similar to mine, which is like more normal to oily, I would definitely set this and I feel like it would wear even longer with a powder on my face. So I will go ahead and try that, and then I'll update you in the comments as well. I did wear it with a powder the other day and it looked really good, but I will continue to test this. So this definitely gets my stamp of approval. If you have a similar skin type to mine, you have textured skin, and you don't want a super dewy skin tint, but you still do enjoy skin tints. Love this one. I do like how it also has more buildable coverage. It gives you something, unlike that like Rose Ink skin tint, the watery one that was basically nothing, like basically a moisturizer. This is something that if I made my own skin tint, it would be very similar to this one. So this will be great to throw on to go for walks. I will probably set it if I want it to last a little bit longer, but all around like a really nice product. And I do think these shades were very workable for me. Now for the Underglow Blurring Primer, I also really enjoyed this, which is surprising. I usually don't find that a lot of primers do much for my skin, but I think because this is a blurring primer, it's exactly what I'm looking for. I did notice a big difference in the pores, like I mentioned, and also with the oiliness, which I wasn't really expecting it to control my oils. But this also gets a thumbs up for me. I think the texture is really nice. It was nice to apply. It does have a slight fragrance, so be aware of that, but I am very sensitive to fragrances, and I don't find that this one bothered me, and it dissipated and it didn't last on my face. So as long as it doesn't irritate my skin, I will be continuing to use this one as well, and I think they make a really good combo. They were kind of made to each other to be a duo. I also really love this packaging. I'm really happy about this wear test. It was very fun. I've tried so many foundations and skin tints lately that I've just been like really bad and just wore horribly. You would think like as time goes on foundations get better, but that's not always the case. But this product line I think is kind of the exception. They brought something new to the market that I haven't seen. It's not a dewy skin tint, it's a long-lasting skin tint, and it was super fun to try it out. Alright, that was everything. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and subscribe so you don't miss my next video. But thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, had a little fun, and got some info about whether this skin tint would be a good fit for you or not. But I will see you all in my next video. Bye.